And the number one regret of that book was I wish I'd lived a life that was true to me and not what others expected of me, because you do not want to get to the end of this precious life and think, what if?
Those people may come and go. You may outlive them. And you're like kind of going, but did I impress them? Did I play it safe? And did I get their, tick of approval? And it's like, they've moved on. And there's going to be certain people that you always want to kind of go, I just want to make them proud. How about making yourself proud? Who's high-fiving you? Sometimes maybe no one might be in your corner, but yourself. Assume that some people will be expecting you to fail, but you can't care for them. At the end of the day, like you said, we can either stay stuck and go, I wish, I could have, I wanna, I shoulda, or just kind of go for it, right? And it's like, who cares? Who cares? You're playing by your own rules, and then all of a sudden, right, the next 10, 15, 20 years could be the very best of your life.
Wendy, thank you so much for coming on the Career Confidence podcast today. Before we jumped on, we were talking about a lot of similar passions and interests. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. You've had an extraordinary career, so I am really excited to dig into that. But let's just take a step back and let's go back to the beginning. Could you give the audience a little bit of an insight into who you are, your background, your journey, and what brought you here today? So Wendy, over to you.
Thank you, Georgie. I'm so excited to be here. And, again, fan crushing on you. I've been listening and taking in cuss and some of them I'm like, oh man, I wish I'd come across these, 18 months ago, 10 years ago. So it's just an absolute pleasure to be here this morning, and more importantly, an opportunity to share some of those stories and things that have served me well. And if it just makes a difference to one person's life, then it all the nerve-sightedness of sharing makes it all worth it. So if we kind of think back, cast back to, finishing high school, the goal was, to start a fantastic, sensible job in accounting and becoming an accountant by trade and financial planning. And that was kind of my game. I ended up doing a summer internship at one of the major banks of Australia and never looked back. I thought I'll work for the summer and then go back next year and start, uni and do my studies. And I got a taste for working in a major organization for corporate life, but also earning some money and thinking, well, why can't I have both? And that's going to mean a big struggle of balancing studies, home life, and work. And so that's what I ended up doing. My story, if we kind of look at it's not been one that's just like the normal steps of like, then you do this and then you do this. And it's kind of like a squiggly line. But I think that serves well to also my personality type of like, it's never done. It's always on to the next adventure. And sometimes when you think you've plateaued out and game over, it's like a plot twist and pivot turn. And it's like, well, this has happened. Now what are you going to do? And I remember growing up, reading was one of my passions, and reading those books that were adventures. I don't know if you ever read those books where it's like, you have two options. Turn to page 56 for this, decision, or turn to page 98 if you're going to go this way. And I feel like that's kind of also played out a little bit in my life of like, well, now you're at a crossroad, which way are you going to go and what are you going to make of the life? But in summary, when people kind of ask me, tell me about your career, I really kind of go, the hashtag comes to life, hashtag from teller to tech. And really my journey has been one working across some incredible organizations, big corporate companies in Australia, in very regulated compliance environments. And all the roles that I've been given the opportunity to take on have always been of service. And it's been to do the very best that I can. And in turn, if that has meant helping customers, helping, internal teams do the best work that they can do. And so those opportunities have led me to bigger opportunities, being asked to take on bigger roles. And I've nervously gone, ask someone else. And then them, sometimes the leader's saying, I think it's your time. And I think that there's an opportunity here for you to step forward. And taking those chances, right? Like taking those leaps of faith and sometimes failing forward and learning fast. I think being curious, driven, a learner for life, but also being ready to kind of quickly and humble, like with humility, go, what can I do in this space? What's the next best decision that I can make? What is the right thing to do by people has served me well. And that has kind of led to the career that I've had across banking and now into tech and loving the space and continuously learning, evolving, taking calculated risks, but having fun.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying what you said at the start as well, because I agree. Like when I was starting my career, I wish that I'd had learned from some of the incredible people I've had on the podcast, and it would probably have, well, I know not probably, it would definitely have helped me out a lot. The one thing was really interesting what you just said then was the whole squiggly line, because I think when people think of a career, we just think it should just go up. You know, we need to get promotion, 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 promotion. And it's just not the reality. So I know there's a lot of people like will listen to this and that will probably be able to relate to that a lot, because sometimes we need to take a step aside, or, you know, we need to take a back step, or we just need to just like do something different before we can take the next leap. So when you say a squiggly line, what did that look like? And I think what's really interesting, how you did go from banking into tech. And I'd love to sort of dig into more what that sort of journey looked like and what you had to do in order to get into technology, what the skill gaps were and what the transferable skills were. So yeah, let's dig into that a bit more.
I think you have to be prepared to kind of go, you know, on a roadmap or sometimes on a map, A to B looks really easy if life was just all things, you know, working out in your favor with no hiccups and obstacles or plot twists, right? But the reality is that's not life, and it's so much pressure to get it right. Like, what are you going to do when you grow up when you're 12? What are you going to do when you finish high school? Now that you finish high school, where are you going to go? What are you going to study? Once you finish, where are you going to go work? And it's like you don't want to make this, you know, uncalculated wrong move. And it's just so much pressure versus kind of going, I'm just going to lean in and I'm going to do the very best and see where that takes me. Having worked in banking, you know, close to 2 decades under my belt, you know, we'd survived the Y2K, the GFC and the Royal Commission. And then all of a sudden it was like, you know, there's an opportunity to go into tech. What would I love to do? And it meant a change in career path. And it was scary to kind of do that. But it was like, if I was to make a move into that space, I know that I'll walk away learning some new lessons. I'll be able to dig deep into myself and back myself. Now, did that mean, well, I'm already at this level in banking as a leader, but I can't make that transition as easy into another completely different industry. So what was I willing to do? For me, personally, I was willing to take a sidestep in many ways, go backwards in my career. And it was like, but who's calling it going backwards if I'm taking it with a mindset of like, I'm going to go and learn something new and immerse myself and back myself and bring to the table some skills that have served me well, transferable skills about collaboration, people skills, learning, curiosity, hard work, dedication. Was it easy? Hell no. But at the end of the day, you're living proof to kind of go, it's never too late. It's never too late. And I think it for me, it was this wake up call of like, you get to do some incredible things and people will help you along the way if you're willing to do the hard work. So it was, you know, a point in my life where it was like, I'm going to make the move into tech. I know nothing about tech. I haven't had 20 years of, you know, of my career in that industry. But let me take a pause right here. Have over the last, you know, 2 decades, have I used platforms and systems? Have I solved for problems? Do I wish technology could have done certain things better? What would I create if I knew, knowing all that I know from a customer side, from a partner side, from a business leader, that I would want the tech to be able to do? And so all of those things I brought to the table. All of the things that I knew were pain points for the industry that had built me up a career were things that I could bring now to the side of tech. And then look at tech and understand it and literally immerse myself into a very technical role to understand, how does a platform work? What are these workflows? What are these engines? How does Schema Builder work? Why do we do these things? And more importantly, beyond the feature and function, what problems does it solve? And so once I understood the tech, I then could, evangelize and go and talk to customers about, this used to be a problem for me as a business leader. Would you wish that you had better insight, or do you wish you could serve your customers or run your divisions or your businesses in a better way? Well, look what's possible on tech. Now, that meant that I had to literally, learn new skills, deep, jump into understanding what is possible. And that required deep study and certification. And I was like, I'm too old. Here I am. I've got a young family, and who's reinventing themselves. But there was a bigger why within me to kind of go, I want to know. I want to know for myself so that I can actually serve and do more and have a bigger impact. And so that's kind of the how the squiggly line went really capuzzo in one way, completely into a different direction. And, that's close to 5 years ago. And yet it's been such an interesting journey, hard days, tough days, but some of the most rewarding moments of my life.
Can I just pause and say, I find that so inspiring. I think that there's so many people that I get messages quite often about feeling stuck, unsure of what the next move should be. I'm too old now, Georgie. I just need, this is it now. This is it for me. I'm like, no, that's, you've got another 20 years,
Exactly.
you're going to be doing the same thing for 20 years and still having the same story. Like,
yes.
You're somebody that took it upon herself to take the right action and make the change. And you're so right when you say about technology, because this is the thing I want to sort of drive home to people as well, is all you're doing really is you're solving customer pain points. You're looking at and going, okay, what are the problems? What needs to be solved, and how can technology solve that? And technology can solve so many problems, but that is such a big part of, every job description, every client meeting I'm on, ultimately it's like, yeah, we need this, and this. And ultimately, Georgie, we just need somebody that can come in and really solve this problem. I'm like, cool. It's the softer skills now that clients are calling out for: resilience, problem solving, critical thinking. These are the skills of the future. AI is going to come in and it's going to outsource so much in terms of that technical grunt work. It's our ability to think critically, to analyze problems, take a step back and have that human approach, that human intelligence alongside artificial intelligence. That's going to be really the skills I foresee of the future. So God, on that note, there's so many things that I could go into.
So many things, right? But even
I know
the AI and the machine learning as an example today, I mean, even as great as that is, you still need to be able to direct it. You need to be kind of go, here are the things that we're trying to solve for. And that is where I think that one of the biggest things that we sometimes underestimate is our ability to kind of be very curious, to be bold, and also to have the power of great communication skills. Because at the end of the day, no matter how great your solution is, no matter what problem your business unit can solve, if you don't have the power to connect and communicate and go, I think I can help you with that. And are you open to some ideas? And actually, I've not come across that before, but let me circle back. Let me go and find out. And I may not have all the answers, but I think I can unlock and, be really resourceful and connect with other people within the organization or other divisions. That's the magic bit of even just kind of adding value. It doesn't mean you've got to have all the answers. And that's been one of my biggest learnings over the last 10 years, in the last decade, of going, sometimes I'm not going to have all the answers. That's okay. My job as a leader is not to have all the answers. The best answers usually lie within the genius of people that are in the organization, but have never been empowered or have never been given the opportunity to kind of share their genius. And this is where it becomes really fun for me to, really tease out that the genius within people, unlocking the genius of others. And, Liz Wiseman talks about this a lot in that book, Multipliers. I'm like, it's not my job to be the white knight of all, business problems. My job is to, create opportunities for others to shine, for others to be given the opportunity to advance in their careers, for others to be able to share their ideas and create innovation and go beyond what one person or one manager or one leader has thought up as the best next best thing or strategy, right? So I think that don't underestimate the power of, like, if you love to problem solve and you're a fantastic communicator, they're valuable skills. They have valuable skills, and machine learning and AI will take us to another level, but we still need to be able to have the art of collaboration and tribal knowledge and inclusivity, right? And how, if you foster that well in your family, in your friend group, then they're things that companies are seeking, right? They're things that solve problems inside and outside of a workforce.
And I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that, because I'm speaking to multiple companies every single day, as you can imagine, doing what I do, and it's all the same skills that I'm learning that people are looking for. So that communication, problem solving skills is so important for the future. And I really hope that sort of, like, people listening to this are really sort of thinking, okay, I really want to, understand and take that away, because that is something that is going to set us apart when we think about the future and what tech's going to enable. So I love to sort of, like, dive into now. So you learned the new skill, you went away, you thought, okay, I want to transition, I want to get into technology, which was so brave to have the courage to make that step. And, I think that there's so many people that fear holds so many people back. Oh, I can't do that, or what if this, or what if that? And actually, what's possible? What could go right? And said, maybe you should have a bit more of that focus. But you've clearly got an optimistic outlook on life. I read one of your posts about with the right mindset, anything is possible. So I'd love to sort of dive into mindset, because that's just so important. I honestly believe it's the foundation of success. But when you're sort of taking on that role at Salesforce, talk to me about those 4 years in that huge company. You've just sort of got into tech. You're learning. You're probably learning lots as you go. But what was that whole experience like for you, transitioning into a new industry, into a big corporation? How did you go about navigating that? And what sort of advice would you have for somebody that isn't a big corporation right now, that really wants to have an impact, really wants to advance in their career? What did you learn working for a huge organization like that?
Yeah, I mean, the organization was a highlight, again, a phenomenal period of my life. And I think the thing is, you can come into an organization like that and you're surrounded by talented individuals, and the imposter syndrome literally can, take on a life of their own. And so it was like, you have to learn to manage your mind. And I think this comes down to, really surrounding yourself with, great thinking, right? It's reading great books. It's investing in podcasts. It's like finding time to have business mentors, to have people that, you admire, and go reaching out and asking them for help, and being really clear on, like, these are the things that I'm really struggling with. Looking as well within, right? A lot of the times we seek to get the answers from everywhere else, and tell me and validate, and what do you think, and what should I do? And it's like, what do you think you should do? How often do you sit silently with yourself, or take yourself for a walk near the ocean, or in at a favorite cafe, and just journal or write down the pros and cons? Because I guarantee a lot of the times when we go, we're scared of, and what will they say? Who's they? And you hit the nail on the head, Georgie. You're like, a lot of the times the biggest fear, the person that's standing in our own way, is ourselves. Because we're like, we can't do it, and what if this goes wrong, and I don't have this, and so we kind of list 10 things of why it won't work. And it's kind of like, right, list them out, and then write 11 things of why it would work, and then prove yourself. See, you got one more on the pro side that actually allows you to believe and allows you to actually at least try. And then also, I think writing out the worst case scenario. Okay, if that fails, and then what? Oh, they're going to laugh. Who's they? And then what? Right? Oh, they're going to laugh, and then they're going to think I'm silly, or that I failed. Who's taking note, right? And is it a failure, or is it a learning? And did you learn something from that experience? And does that then make you take a wiser next step? And so when you start to kind of have this mindset of, like, I'm neither winning nor losing, just learning. And it's an opportunity to have I'm excelling at that, or that didn't go as planned. That totally sucked. But what can I learn from that to make me stronger for next time? And so I think once you start to have that kind of thinking, but that means really investing in yourself and backing yourself. Because a lot of the times we're thinking everyone's got their eyes on you and that they're expecting you to fail. And yet the reality is most people are just like so worried about their own race that they're not even looking at you. Now, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I completed the City to Surf. It was on my bucket list.
Oh,
I've
amazing.
never had a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't run it. Let's be really clear. I didn't run it. I kind of danced my way and walked and chatted along the whole way. But it was just interesting. On the side of the race, there was people that were, either observing and you can feel like they're kind of like looking at you, maybe judging, going, look at this person. Why are they not running? Why are they having fun? Don't they see you? And it's kind of like, who cares what they're thinking, right? I'm in the goddamn race and having a go at least. And then there's other people that are cheering you on. There was little children on the side of the road that were like with their little hands out, holding their little hand out to high five you, right? And just tapping their hands, going, thank you so much for your energy and thanks for being here. And they'd be like, yeah, that's the human spirit, right? Who's high-fiving you? Sometimes maybe no one might be in your corner, but yourself. And so assume that some people will be expecting you to fail, but you can't care for them. At the end of the day, like you said, could we can either stay stuck and go, I wish, I could have, I wanna, I shoulda, or just kind of go for it, right? And it's like, who cares? Who cares? You're playing by your own rules and then all of a sudden, right, the next 10, 15, 20 years could be the very best of your life if you're at least giving it a go.
Everything you just said then, I completely agree. And I think this is why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people. I've been around people who have been supporting me, wanting me to do well. And I've also had the opposite of that. And I can tell you for my mindset, mental well-being, I love being around people that also when I'm having a bad day, because we can't all be positive Polly's all the time. We're always going to have those moments of doubt. And like you said, imposter syndrome kicks in and you go, what if this, what if that? And, sometimes you do wake up and you just don't feel quite on the ball. But they're the days where you need those people around you to say, do you know what? I'm actually having a real tough day today. Can I just talk this out with you? And sometimes that's all you need, just somebody just to talk it out, be vulnerable with, and have the opportunity just to kind of just get it out in the open. Like you say, maybe take yourself away, journal, like you just said then, get it out. Don't let it fester and build up in you, and then let it go. That's the thing. Don't marinate in it. But again, it's really important to acknowledge how you are feeling, because not every day is going to be a great day, but it's how you handle it. I think that's the difference. When I see people who go on to have fantastic careers and start businesses, it's their ability to, just give themselves time to process things and then go, okay, maybe that didn't go as how I wanted it to go. All right, what am I going to do about it? And like you said, I love this quote about, you're neither winning or losing, you're constantly learning. I absolutely love that. That was so powerful. And the final point I want to make from all the amazing things you just said then was, just the power of, living life on your terms. A book I read, and I've said this before in the podcast, but if you haven't read it, I highly recommend, is The 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bonnie Ware. And the number one regret of that book was, I wish I'd lived a life that was true to me and not what others expected of me. So everything you've just said there of running your own race, being in the race to start with, is so important for people to hear, because you do not want to get to the end of this precious life and think, what if?
That's it.
I think that scares the living daylight out of me. So
because when you kind of go, what if, like, what are they going to say? Those people may come and go. You may outlive them. And you're like kind of going, but did I impress them? Well, weren't they, did I play it safe? And did I get their, tick of approval? And it's like, they've moved on. Maybe they've moved on and you're just here trying to impress upon them. And there's going to be certain people that you always want to kind of go, I just want to, make them proud. How about making yourself proud? Right?
Yeah.
How about you kind of going, yay me? And I think the two things, right, Georgia, you just mentioned, right, it's kind of like the same thing. When you have bad days, we all have them. I mean, I'm an optimistic kind of person. People go, is the glass half full? I'm like, I'm just glad I got a glass, right? So it's kind of like that concept of like, there is bad days. It's not sunshines and rainbows every day. There is bad days. Like there are tough days. And here's the thing, I think it's kind of like getting it out on paper, having a friend that you can, have a vent or have this moment and just, I'm having a tough day. Getting it out of you will 100% make you feel better. It's out. Either voice note it to yourself or get your phone out and video record yourself. And I'm like, this is really blah, blah, blah. At least it's out, right? It is. At least it's out and you can delete and it's just out, right? It's that toxic, let it out and let it go. And then the flip on that, on the side of that is create a brag sheet on your phone, right? Create a brag sheet of things that sometimes you'll have a really great week and go, I'm really proud because I was able to have that really difficult conversation. I was able to ask for help. I was able to, invest 30 minutes of self-care and take on that new class that I've been meaning to do. Whatever it is, right? You have create a brag sheet on your notes, on your phone, right? It's a free app. Like you literally take notes and call it brag sheet FY23 or brag sheet summer, whatever it is. And on those tough days, get that brag sheet out and remind yourself, look how far you've come. There's at least 2 or 3 things in there that you can celebrate and go, I do tough things. It's a tough day today, but I'm tough. And I've looked at the stuff that I'm also celebrating. And I think they're the things that anchor you forward. It's sometimes that baby step. It's like you have that moment and then you've got to make that choice of like, okay, cool. Let's move forward. Let's maybe have an earlier night that night and shut the day off and be like, I'm done with this yucky day. And then move forward and wake up for a new day the next day.
I love that. I'm going to make my own brag sheet, and I'm going to look at it on those moments where I'm doubting myself or having imposter syndrome, or wondering what am I doing? Why am I running this business? Like I always have those moments of doubt. Of course, we're only human, right? And I don't want anyone to listen to this podcast and think that every single person that comes on has got it all together, because we haven't. We're all just doing the best that we can, and that's the biggest thing I think it's important for people to understand, is that everyone goes through hardship. That's life. Stuff is going to come and it's going to shock you and it's going to shake up your whole world, and it's how you respond. And it's just remembering to keep perspective. And on those days where you are struggling, it's trying to stay as optimistic as you can and have your moment, learn from it, and then focus on the gratitude and the things that you're proud of, and keep on moving forward, but never stop moving forward. Because one of the posts that I actually love that you did, it sort of ties in beautifully to what you were just saying, is the importance of focusing on those small wins and celebrating them. And this was something, Wendy, that I was terrible at the early stage of my career. I remember I set a really big goal of buying a flat, or when I wanted to be on the housing market by the age of 26, and I literally worked so hard. I arrived in Australia with a rucksack, and I had this goal of buying a house at 26. So I had like 5 years to do it, and I achieved that goal. And I didn't even have a moment to celebrate. I was like, right, what's next?
Yeah,
what's next?
Yeah.
And I look back at it and I go, oh, Georgina, like that was a real moment that you should have taken a bit more time to really just enjoy that, not just be like, right, what's next? And I think that I've learned a lot from, just now it's all about, for me, celebrating the small wins, and they just sort of compound, and I'm a lot happier and more content and fulfilled in my day to day, rather than having these big audacious goals and saying things like, I'll be happy and proud of myself when. I need to feel like I've earned this.
Yeah.
That was my mindset.
This much, when I've lost this much, weight of what I've had, when I've achieved this study, then I will be happy. And it's like, what about in between, right? It's never about the destination, about the journey in between. And you're absolutely right. How many times have we maybe set ourselves these ostentatious goals? Like, who even tells us by 26 you must, right?
Yeah.
But we're playing these games and we're like, and we go, yep, that's what we define as success. And then the moments come, and then we don't even allow ourselves to celebrate the achievement, and we downplay it, and we're like, next. And it's just like, let's just take a pause. And I think women, and especially working women, we have really high standards. And so this is where you need to have 1 or 2 great friends to kind of go, I'm really proud of this moment. Can you join me to celebrate over a coffee? Or like, let me, and it's not about buying an expensive token gift. It could be like just an experience. I'm gonna take myself out for a beautiful like coffee, or buy myself this really great book to remember this moment. and to either write down that, like, like, as like that was a goal of mine and I achieved it. And what did it take for me to get there? And that, and just being really proud of the sacrifices, the hard work that was put in, the appreciation of what it took, and also the lessons of like how strong or resilient or how disciplined you had to go through to get that. And then how does that set you up for maybe the next thing, or maybe nothing more, right? If it was all to kind of stop there, it's kind of like, that's good enough, right? And yeah, we say, usually high performing, competitive individuals with high standards, it's never done. And you don't want to get caught into this trap of like, and now it's the next thing and it's never enough and you feel unfulfilled, because then you will never be happy. And so it's like, how do you find the joy in the achievements of what you have done thus far, and excitement of maybe what is to come, maybe bigger goals, or maybe just, it's just accepting it and celebrating that joy. Because we always kind of go, when I get to here, then I'll make it. And it's then the next and the next and the next, versus just kind of like, I choose to now be really happy. I've achieved some great things, and whatever comes next is a bonus, right? Or it's like, oh, this is a little kind of goal that I want to set myself. All right, cool. What would that mean to me? And once I get there, how will it make me feel? And how will my younger version of myself be proud of that? Or my older version going, I'm so proud that you were courageous to do that, right? So I think it's like they're ways to also kind of celebrate those moments.
Yeah, such great advice and so powerful as well. And yeah, it's something that I think I still, even now, struggle with on days where I'm like, am I doing enough? Am I working hard enough? It's a constant, I don't want to say battle, but it definitely does play on my mind a lot of like, because I want the podcast to be doing really well, and I want the guests to be amazing, and I want to get as much value. And then I've got my sort of day job in recruitment, and I want to do a great job for my clients, my candidates, and then my team. It's like, it's a constant, like, and then I got to make time for me. So it's a constant blend and balancing act. And, some weeks I definitely don't get it right, and other weeks I do okay. But, that is life. Nothing's going to be just perfect all the time, right? You've just got to just ride it out and do the best. I think that's the thing. As long as you can get to the end of the week and focus on, okay, what did I do well this week? What have I learned? And have that mindset of, what would a great week next week look like?
Yeah.
And constantly be sort of, like you said, like constantly learning and evolving as a person. I think that's absolutely key. But look, you've recently joined Fluent Commerce. So I'd love to learn more about your role there. You're the VP of Engineering. Great title. I'm sure you're going to be doing incredible work in there. And the one post that I really liked that we can sort of go on to as well is something we're both very passionate about. But you said 11% of the engineering workforce is female. This is in Australia. How can we be at the forefront of innovation if we exclude half the talent pool? And I thought, oh, yeah, that's something that I'm also working hard to create a little bit of change in and bring a bit of an awareness to. So talk to me about, your role as a senior software engineer, and what are some of the things that you think that we could all be doing better to diversify the tech industry?
I think as an organization, I think as a human race, I think as a country in Australia, I think it's about opportunities like this, having other female leaders speak. Earlier this year for International Women's Day, I was invited back to my high school.
Wow.
And it was such a surreal moment. They were like, "Hey, we want you to come in and have a chat to the young students." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, what are we talking?" And they're like, all the students from year 7 all the way through to year 12. And I'm like, "Okay, so I'll have like a 5-10 minute piece." And it was like, no, you're just the only guest for the day. I was like, what do you mean? And so the imposter syndrome kind of kicked in, but he was the opportunity to stand in front of them and just kind of go, I was you, more than 20 years ago, sitting in the same uniform on the same library chairs. And I never dreamt of, the career and the path that I've had. And so I need you to keep in mind, be open, pursue everything that kind of excites you. Don't hold yourself back. Technology is not an area that should be off limits for us. We should be looking at, coming into that space and looking at, if we don't come in, it's never going to change. And so your ideas and your type of thinking is very much welcome because it's a different perspective. And so having platforms like that to encourage young women to go, you need to consider, look, I'm making it, and I got there late in my journey, but I'm staying and I want to do great things and I want to, change the paths for myself and for others. I think that helps for people to kind of consider, if she can do it, I can do it. Great. I think the other piece is organizations have the opportunity to really kind of go, are you being inclusive? It's not about just hiring students out of uni and getting that blend right. It's like, are you even putting people in leadership positions that have different, genders, diversity, backgrounds, experience? Because by injecting that at those levels downwards as well, it starts to really change the landscape of the business thinking, of what is possible, and an appreciation of different thinking. I think it's like sometimes if they've only ever known one way and they've hired same, then you just continue to have the same kind of conversations, or like it's not as stretched, and all of a sudden by us coming to the party, but being brave enough to come and seek a spot at the table, it brings advancement in thinking and a diversity in the way that what we show up and what matters to us. And yet at the same time, we think we're not serving a male-dominated industry. We're not serving just male customers and male organizations and male businesses. When you start to think about those things, more than 50% of the population in Australia are female. And so it's like, who's representing them? Who's thinking like they think? These are the things that really matter to us to, really turn the dial or move the needle on that front. But that means we've got to be brave enough as females, as women, to kind of go, look, I think I can go play in that space. I may not have all the answers, but at least I'm willing to give it a go. And then get the studies, have the organization open up or do special programs so that we get to a point where it's like we are all seen as for our talents versus, hitting a status quo box of like, we need to have 50-50. It shouldn't, like ideally, that's what I strive for, for us to be in a future where it's no longer a KPI, but it's a way of living and thinking. And just last week, Jacinta Arden was in town. Business Cheeks put on a phenomenal event, and she shared an exercise that she does with young women, and she'll ask usually teams or girls, what do you dream of growing up? What do you dream to be when you grow up? And there was one example where the young girl, 16, said, I dream of being a heart surgeon. And then she asked her, close your eyes again. Now, what do you think you're really capable of? And 90% of the time, most girls will change their decision to, I will work as a travel agent, or I will work in some, and there's nothing wrong being a travel agent or in different lines of service, but 90% of the time, they change their thinking because they think, I won't be smart enough, the brightest, the fastest, so I'm that would be the dream, but I'm going to fall short of that. So I'm going to be really realistic. And so when I heard that, it was like, we have an opportunity to kind of raise our voice to go, no, dream big, just go for it. And it's so funny because I was sharing that story with my children on the weekend. I have 2 boys. And without hesitation, my boys were like, I want to become a successful lawyer. And I said, okay, now close your eyes and what do you think you'll be? And he's like, a successful lawyer, without skipping a beat, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, why, so it's like, how do we start to really make an impact at those younger generations? And I think things like this, us being brave to share our stories, to kind of have podcasts, to have opportunities, to go and speak to them, to mentor, to give back, to encourage or remind organizations. So like, are you really moving the dial here and how are you making a difference? that's really powerful. And so, yeah, I think that's the bit we can do.
Standing ovation. That was amazing, and I completely agree with everything you just said then. And I think that's such an important thing. It's like visibility does matter, representation matters. We can't be what we can't see, and that's why I'm so passionate about getting women onto this podcast. And what you just said then, it's like, maybe if you're a mother of a young girl, maybe just putting on a podcast in the car when you're driving around and listening to women like yourself speak about their careers, and instead of just putting on like nursery rhymes or kids pop, like maybe it's just thinking differently. Okay, how can I maybe just install something in their brains, because a lot of things are caught not taught. So it's just being very aware of what we're listening to, what we're saying, and also I think being role models for our children as well. My business partner, she's got 2 young girls, and I'm constantly saying to her every single day when she's when we're off into the city going for meetings and building relationship with clients, I said, this is the biggest gift you can give Emily and Sky, your 2 daughters. Watching them, you get up, you put your power suit on, and you storm out the house, and you are taking charge of your life. I said, that is so inspiring for those 2 young girls. I said, so that's for me. I just think that's the biggest gift she could give her children. But Wendy, I'm conscious of time. I could honestly, I think this podcast could go on for 3 hours, but I'm conscious of time. But just finally, I guess just what would be the one piece of advice that you would want to install, on just women in general who are, maybe they're down to themselves right now, maybe they want to take the next step up in their careers, but they are struggling with imposter syndrome, they are struggling with fear and self-doubt, they are worried about what other people think about, maybe they're worried about what that means for them being a mother, and then maybe the compromises and stuff. But what sort of piece of advice would you say? Why should they take that next step? How important is it for our society and the younger generations for women to step up, use their voices, and live up to their true potential?
Oh, Georgie, I think it's like kind of going, let me write you a permission note. Let me write, if no one's like, if you're waiting for the permission note, like I'm happy to send 100 million out, but it's kind of like that concept of like, stop waiting, right? No one's coming to help. Like no one is coming to rescue you, and you are the hero of your own story, and you have the ability to create and make it as beautiful and joyful and exciting and driven and all of those things. You have the permission to do it. Don't wait. We're waiting and sometimes going, we've got this beautiful story to tell, but we're waiting for someone else to write the story. Take charge of that. Give yourself the permission, back yourself, and kind of go, if not me, then who, right? If not me, who? And I think like it's that concept of like find the path back to yourself, and just truly ask yourself, is this the best that I can do? Am I fulfilling? Am I living to my fullest potential, in my purest and best joy? And if not, why not? Right? If not, why not? And when will you do it? What would it take? Everything that is possible sits within you, right? Work on yourself. Give yourself the biggest gift of investing in yourself and allowing yourself to unleash the best version of you. And I think one thing, like I kind of always think to myself is like, if I don't do it, what disservice is this to myself and to the world, or to the community, or to the teams that I work with, or to the friends that I have? What disservice is that? Not only do I miss out, but others may miss out too. And so that would be like, I guess, my advice of like, stop waiting. Stop waiting. This is your permission to go and do everything that you would want to do. And prove yourself, prove it to yourself that you're capable of doing it, and be the example for yourself. I do it for my children. Sometimes I think, oh my gosh, changing my career. My boys are like, it's so hard, high school and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but look at me. I'm also trying too. I'm sharing the journey. Like I've started another organization. It means I've got to learn. I'm in a new playground. I've got to make new friends. I'm learning as well. It's hard. And so don't shy from the hard bits of life. Teach your children, right? And teach yourself and share that journey with friends, because it might encourage them to at least, give it a go as well. So there you go. I don't know if that lands or serves you well, but
no, that was absolutely perfect. Just honestly, I think this was a podcast that probably even I needed today. I feel really upbeat after this, and I know that everyone that listened to this is going to have hopefully some really key takeaways and hopefully feel very inspired to take the next step in their lives and their career. But Wendy, for those people that want to connect with you, which please do, and please go and connect with Wendy. Where should I send them?
Send them to on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's the best way to kind of connect these days from a professional perspective. I'm Sydney based, so always happy to grab a coffee. I always happy to book some time, and if I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate. We're here to help each other. It takes a village, but you also got to be brave enough to let the village help you, right? So I think that's one of the key takeaway, like the key shares. Reach out to me, message me, and I promise to get back to you. So there you go.
Amazing. Yeah, we're not good for asking for help, are we? It's definitely not something we're good at, but we need to get better at, because I honestly think there's a lot of people like yourself, Wendy, that want to help and want to make a difference. So please go and reach out to Wendy, connect with her, and let her know that you listened to today's podcast. But thank you so much to every single person that has tuned in today. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to bringing you many more inspiring conversations from incredible people like Wendy. But Wendy, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you, and keep shining a light, because you're doing some incredible work.
Oh, I appreciate it, Georgie. Friends for life. If you need anything, reach out. But I cannot wait for us to, continue in our path. So my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I look forward to reading 5 Regrets of the Dying and circling back with my key takeaway. I promise to get back to you on that one.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoy these episodes, the number one thing you can do to help us grow and keep spreading our mission and message is to hit the subscribe button. And if you have time, give us a quick rating. Appreciate each and every one of you who tune in every week, and we look forward to bringing you many more episodes this year. Take care.